Get ready to see the greatest sensational clash in Wild West history. Let's step back in time to the heart of the Old West as the fearless Texas Rangers square off against the relentless Comanche Raiders in an epic battle at Agua Dulce Creek. Will the Texas Rangers' unrivaled courage and tactical brilliance be enough to defeat the fierce Comanche Raiders' resistance? What mysteries are hidden in the untold stories of this great conflict, and how did it impact Western history? Well, the moment of truth is just around the corner. Without further ado, let's dive right in. On May 29, 1850, in the great expanse of the Texas frontier, Captain John Rip Ford and his valiant troop of Texas Rangers set out on a voyage down a hard tributary of the Nueces River. Their destination, San Antonio Viejo, the legendary Old San Antonio located along the U.S.-Mexico border on the mighty Rio Grande. Captain Ford, known for his stern disposition and the solemn responsibility of issuing numerous death certificates during the Mexican-American War from 1846 to 1848, had just turned 35. Along with him came a small group of young veterans, their emotions still filled with the echoes of battles fought and won. Lieutenant Andrew Jackson Walker, a trusted second-in-command, pledged his undying devotion to the cause. Monsieur Benjamin Highsmith took on the role of quartermaster and commissary, ensuring the Rangers were well prepared for the challenges ahead. Each member of this diverse crew bore the weight of their wartime experiences. From orderly David Level, ever dutiful, to the skilled surgeon Philip Luckett, their collective expertise formed the backbone of the unit. However, the ranks would not be complete without William Gillespie and the other gallant Rangers, a varied band of warriors eager to confront the challenges ahead. William Gillespie was a talented young ranger from an esteemed family with a rich history in the Texas Rangers. His uncle, Robert Gillespie, had fought valiantly with great rangers like Jack Hayes, Bigfoot Wallace, Samuel Walker, and Rip Ford himself. Robert had been killed 4 years previously during the Mexican-American War at the Battle of Monterey, and he was the first ranger to breach the fort's perimeter. Inspired by his uncle's legacy, William Gillespie aspired to follow in his footsteps and establish a reputation for himself by going up against the Comanche. Rocco Madrigal, the Ranger scout, was a half-Comanche/half Mexican man with extraordinary language skills and a sense of smell. However, the lack of Comanche contacts disappointed William Gillespie, and the spring brought growing anticipation of an imminent conflict. Now, let's briefly delve into the Rangers' initial encounter with the Comanche, exploring this significant historical moment. Their first contact with the Comanche occurred unexpectedly on May 26. Startled by a gunshot from a ranger on watch, the group discovered a few shadowy figures attempting to steal their horses. The horse thieves kept fleeing, leading the ranger to open fire and bring down one of them. The Rangers remained in the camp until morning, fearful of an ambush. When daylight came, they set out to find the injured Comanche warrior, who had been part of a gang attempting to steal the Texans' horses to obtain fortune and fame. The young warrior's companions had escaped, leaving him severely wounded. As he took his last breaths, the Rangers scouted the area but found no trace of the remaining Comanche. Captain Ford dispatched Edward Burleson Jr. to send a note asking for reinforcements to Fort Merrill. But Burleson returned with the unsettling news that the fort's commander, J.P. Plummer, had rejected warnings of the Comanche's proximity and seemed indifferent about the possible threat. The Rangers headed south 3 days later, knowing they would face violence and peril. The Comanche received word of their aborted attack on the Ranger encampment, sparking grief and a hunger for revenge. Their voyage began early in the morning, and by mid-morning, their scout Rocco had detected unshot horse traces, signaling the presence of a nearby Comanche war group. The Comanche were aware of the Rangers' location and planned to intercept their passage, forcing them to fight to survive. When the Rangers first confronted Comanche assaults, they were a decade and a half old, yet they were instantly startled by their firepower. The Rangers had made substantial contributions to firearm technology by 1850, with the average Ranger carrying single-shot pistols, 5-shot Patterson Colt revolvers with removable cylinders, and 2 Walker Colt revolvers. The Patterson Colt was the brainchild of Samuel Colt, a young New Jersey inventor. Before going into the battle, let's quickly go through the Colts and Rangers' histories. In 1836, Samuel Colt invented the handgun with a revolving cylinder to completely implement the concept. The Republic of Texas purchased 180 revolvers in 1839 for the Texas Navy's defense against pirates. Governor Sam Houston disbanded the Navy in 1843, making revolvers accessible to the Texas Rangers. The Rangers and the Revolvers fought hard against cattle thieves, Mexican soldiers, and Comanche warriors. Samuel Walker, a Maryland native who returned to Texas in 1842, proposed the Colt Walker revolver, a 6-shot revolver with a .44 caliber ball and a 100-yard effective range. Walker's legacy and the Walker Colt were still felt on the Nueces River 2 years later. The Comanche had long dominated the battlefield regarding firing rate and maneuverability, and their horsemanship allowed them to fire while hanging off the horse's side. These abilities were acquired via lifestyle and training. The Comanche children were trained to ride and shoot, including picking up objects and shooting live birds. Meanwhile, the Rangers were trained professionals who were horsemen and marksmen, riding some of Texas' finest horses. Prospective Rangers were not allowed to join if they had a horse worth less than $100, which is around $3,900 today. The Rangers were known for disregarding military order, attire, and etiquette, but were highly disciplined, mobile, and dangerous in battle. Now, let's take a look at the insane battle at Agua Dulce Creek. In 1850, the Texas Rangers were the only armed force capable of competing on equal footing with the fierce Comanche. Their rage and bravery were put to the ultimate test on this fateful day. Following an early conflict near Rancho Amagosa, Captain Ford ordered his troops into battle lines with Colt Walker revolvers drawn. They moved quietly, communicating by whispered tones and hand gestures. Their destination? The Comanche camp near Agua Dulce Creek, 4 miles ahead. Fortune smiled on the Rangers since the Comanche who had assaulted them earlier had yet to return and sound the alarm. Capturing the element of surprise, Captain Ford took charge and pushed his troops forward. The Rangers charged into the unsuspecting Comanche camp with thunderous hooves and furious battle shouts. Chaos followed as the Comanche, seeing the impending danger, hurried to gather their weapons and reach their horses. The Rangers charged into the camp, shooting at each Comanche they saw. The horses of the Comanche were not spared, with some being shot down at close range to knock their riders to the ground. Minutes flew by in a blur of close-quarters battle. Some Comanche warriors fought fiercely, while others sought to flee into the surrounding forest. Those who battled were met with rapid and deadly force and fell where they stood. Meanwhile, the Rangers on horseback followed those who sought refuge in the dense mesquite thicket, making their aim obvious. When the dust settled, the Rangers had left a trail of destruction in their wake. According to Captain Ford, 4 Comanche warriors were found dead in the camp, and up to 7 were injured. The conflict had been ferocious and brutal, a war of wills between 2 powerful forces. The Battle of Agua Dulce Creek put the Rangers' determination and power against a formidable foe to the test. It showcased their ability to seize the element of surprise and strike with unyielding force. The Rangers once more demonstrated their value, solidifying their position as Texas' strong defenders against the relentless Comanche threat. The aftermath. In the aftermath of the battle, the Rangers celebrated their triumph, their shouts of victory filling the air. However, their pleasure quickly changed to despair as they heard agonizing cries. William Gillespie, a young ranger, had been seriously wounded. When Gillespie saw a Comanche warrior running away, he tried to shoot him, but his horse caused him to misfire. Taking advantage of the situation, the Comanche pulled his bow and shot Gillespie beneath the ribcage, penetrating his lung. Captain Ford ordered an end to the chase, building defensive lines to defend Gillespie as others hurried him to safety. Meanwhile, the Rangers chased away the remaining Comanche, who were taunting from a distance. The Rangers converted the seized Comanche camp into a makeshift field hospital. Despite their attempts, Gillespie's wound was serious, and he was told that he would die a slow, agonizing death. The remaining Rangers tended wounded horses and searched the area for any remaining Comanche. They were surprised to see a young Comanche kid who had been hurt in the fight and had hidden in the brush. Despite being shot twice, the youngster remained motionless and calm, knowing he was about to be killed. He exposed himself to be the son of a war chief, earning the unpleasant nickname Carne Muerto or Dead Meat. The Rangers set up camp, but the night was restless and filled with grief. Gillespie died from his injuries before dawn. Overcome with sadness and shame, Captain Ford directed that Gillespie's body be tied to a mule. Gillespie was put to rest in a modest but solemn ceremony on a tiny hill near Agua Dulce Creek by the Rangers. Fearing retaliation, the young Comanche captive stood silently as prayers were offered and Gillespie was buried. With one less Ranger and one prisoner in tow, the Rangers began their march towards San Antonio Viejo with sorrowful hearts. The fight against the Comanche was far from over, and several Rangers would go on to have legendary careers. The fate of the young Comanche captive is unclear, but the Comanches' rule as monarchs of the southern plains would last another quarter century, highlighted by tales of raids, wars, and their tenacity in defending their land. What are your thoughts on this intense encounter? Share your thoughts in the comments below.